character is me. Her name is Zofia, and she always tried to be a good person. So some things you have to know about her are that she is a vegetarian, she doesn't buy from Shein or Temu, she tries to be kind to strangers, she drinks with paper straws that dissociate in her drink, and generally she has always tried to do the right thing. But I also live in 2025, which means that nothing I do feels like it matters in the slightest, which means that I'll be drinking an oatmeal latte that I don't even like while watching the news and seeing that a celebrity has taken 3 private jet flights and in a single day emitted 1,100 times more metric tons of CO2 than an average person does on the daily. I'll say no to plastic bags and then see 1,500 tons of plastic trash washing up on the beach in the Philippines, mostly from corporations I never even bought from. Which means that I'll spend 15 minutes researching whether this shampoo brand is cruelty-free and find out that the parent company just dumped all their waste into a river. So, all things considered, what if it doesn't really matter if you're a good person? What if, no matter how many eco-friendly swaps you make, how many good intentions you have, you will always be part of something deeply harmful? And what if doing the right thing actually costs you so much and still changes absolutely nothing? And that is the question that I want to explore with you today. Can you be an ethical person in an unethical system? So, first of all, what really is this system? We live in a world where profit comes over people. That's no hot take, it's just how it is. It's a society where unethical behavior is not only common, but it's also rewarded. Where doing the right thing often means swimming upstream, and where it's not really about individuals being bad, it's just about the rules of the game. The system rewards exploitation. It rewards cost-cutting, even when that cost is somebody's well-being. It rewards speed, scale, and shareholder returns, not justice or decency or sustainability. In fact, those things, justice, sustainability, compassion, you're often punished. Doing the right thing, it usually costs more, takes more time, and most importantly, makes less money. Now, this is not about blaming individuals. Most people aren't waking up in the morning thinking, how can I make the world worse today? But this is not about intentions, it's about incentives. When someone is trained from their earliest days that money is the highest value, it's almost impossible to rewire their thinking. Because the system doesn't just shape our choices, it shapes our desires. It tells us what success looks like, what matters, what to chase, and what to fear. And here's the kicker. The system is really good at making you feel like you're the problem. That if you just recycled better, or shopped smarter, or bought the right brand of oat milk, things would be fine. But the truth is, this is not about you. It's about the system that you are trapped inside. We're told to be good consumers. Shop sustainably. Buy ethically. And vote with your wallet. This is what we're sold as morality. Eco-swaps, conscious capitalism, reusable this and fair trade that. It feels empowering, like you're making a difference, like you have any sort of control. But here is the truth. Ethical consumerism is a myth. Because the system we live in doesn't change when you buy better, it just adapts. It turns morality into a product and sells it right back to you. Think about it. A $90 organic hoodie, a $40 water bottle, a brand that plants 1 tree for every 5 items it ships across the ocean. It's not real change. It's just a vibe. It's marketing. It's a way to feel clean in a dirty system. And when we buy into this idea, we start believing that morality is some sort of personal project. That if we just try hard enough, research well enough, and spend responsibly enough, we can stay untouched. But you can't shop your way out of a system designed to extract. You can't consume your way to justice in a system where consumption is the problem. And most importantly, you can't live in this world without participating in harm. Not fully and not here. Because even the good companies still rely on cheap labor, still ship products across oceans, still answer to growth and profits first and foremost. Even our best frameworks, even our best efforts happen inside a framework that is designed to extract. And I don't say that to make anyone feel guilty. I say it because guilt is what keeps us stuck, trying to fix a structural problem with personal perfection. Because no matter how careful you are, you cannot live in this world without causing harm. Most of us work jobs that connect in some way to exploitation. We use tools built by underpaid workers, on devices made from mined materials, running on platforms that harvest our attention. We tell ourselves that it's fine, it's just the way things are, it's just a job. And maybe it is. Maybe we're not responsible for the whole thing. But that doesn't mean we are outside of it. Because at some point, ethics isn't just about intention anymore. It's about impact. And it's about how close we're willing to look. And whether we can stay honest even when the answers are uncomfortable. So, do you know what the hardest part to accept is? You cannot be fully ethical in this system. Not consistently, not completely, and not if you participate in this world as it currently functions. Because this isn't just a matter of bad companies or bad people. It's that every industry, fashion, tech, transportation, education, even medicine, profits from harm in some way. It's just how the system is built. It's how it stays alive. Even the companies we celebrate for being sustainable or ethical still rely on cheap labor, still rely on extraction of resources, of time, of people's lives. You buy the ethical t-shirt, but it's still shipped across the ocean by a logistics chain built on fossil fuels. You switch to oat milk, but the company still invests in tech that mines user data. You avoid fast fashion, but your phone was made by people who were never paid a living wage. That doesn't make you unethical. It just means that the system didn't give you any ethical exits. It gives you choices, yes, but only between those that are less bad or more hidden. And here's what the system is really good at. It lets you choose how far away from the harm you want to be, how visible the suffering is, and how palatable the cost becomes. It's not that the harm stops, it just gets outsourced, pushed to a factory in another country or buried deep in a supply chain. Or labeled with words like carbon neutral or green certified so you don't have to think too hard about it. But somewhere along the line, someone is paid for it. And it's usually not the people at the top. Sometimes you're the one paying with your money while they pay with their lives. And you have to remember, this could have been you if you were just unlucky enough to be born in, say, Somalia, which has a 43.5% child employment rate. By the way, did you know that Coca-Cola has a huge manufacturing facility in Somalia? In the world's poorest countries, over 20% of children are employed. So, when we talk about being ethical, we have to ask ourselves, do we mean ethical in appearance or ethical in reality? Because the reality is this. If you work, buy, scroll, or participate in any other way in modern society, you are already inside of the system. You don't get to opt out. You only get to choose how awake you want to be. And that's not meant to discourage you. It's just meant to clarify the game we're playing so we can stop pretending that it's some sort of... So if being perfectly ethical isn't possible inside the system, where does that leave us? It leaves us with a very different kind of question. No longer about staying clean, but instead about not becoming comfortable in the dirt. But what does it mean to act with care and responsibility in a world where harm is unavoidable? Because if the harm is systemic, the response has to be systemic as well. And that means we have to stop treating ethics like an individual performance and start understanding it as a collective responsibility. For the past few decades, we've been sold the idea that morality is something personal, something you manage on your own. You recycle, you shop local, you buy cruelty-free, you donate when you can, and that's your duty done. But this approach is incredibly limited and honestly quite lonely. Because when we treat ethics like a solo project, we miss the point. We miss the fact that we are all connected to each other, whether we choose to see it or not. And more importantly, we miss our real power, which has never been in individual perfection, but instead has always been in solidarity. So let's reframe. Let's stop asking, what are we willing to do for each other? What would it mean to see ethics not as a fixed set of consumer choices, but as something living, a practice we return to, together, again and again, even when we get it wrong? This means asking different questions. Not just, is this purchase ethical, but who made this and under what conditions? Not just, how do I avoid guilt, but how do I stay away to the consequences of my actions and my choices? Not just, do I benefit from this system, but what is my responsibility to those who are harmed by it? This kind of ethical thinking is way harder. It asks more of us, because it doesn't end when we feel good. It doesn't end in the checkout page. It doesn't end when we say, well, I did my part. It begins with recognizing that the problems we're facing, exploitation, inequality, climate destruction, aren't caused by bad individuals making bad choices. They're caused by systems doing exactly what they were built to do. So, which means that no individual can dismantle them alone, but collectively, we might be able to start shifting the ground beneath them. That might look like organizing at your workplace or showing up to a union drive, even if you're not directly affected. It might look like participating in local politics, or choosing to listen deeply to people whose eyes were shaped by a system you only ever experienced at a distance. And sometimes, it simply looks like refusing to get too comfortable. Because that's what the system wants. It wants us to accept the harm as normal. It wants us to say, well, that's just how things are. It wants us to numb ourselves into inaction. But collective ethics says, you don't have to look away. You don't have to carry it alone. You just have to keep asking, what is my responsibility to others, not just to myself? Not just for yourself, because on your own, you cannot do anything. You cannot be fully ethical. Not when every choice you make is shaped by structures we didn't ask for but still live inside. But that doesn't mean we stop trying. So if I had to leave you with just one thought, it would be appreciating people who try every day. The student who doesn't use ChatGPT on their assignments, even though they know they'll get a worse grade. The worker who quits a well-paying job is human. And sometimes, that's more than enough. Thank you.